This is the Kick-Ass Geek Cast, and I am your host, Daddy Warpig. I am back. That's right, it's the Kick-Ass Geek Cast for Monday, November 3rd, 2014. By the way, the Kick-Ass Geek Cast comes to you live from the House of Geekery, daddywarpig.com, daddywarpig.com, or you can catch me on Twitter at daddy_warpig, at daddy_warpig. We have got another big show for you tonight, jam-packed into a mere half hour, so we move quick. Hold on to your seats. Some site news real quick. I have been informed by a fellow Twitterer, Seamus O'Malley, that some of the audio problems that crop up occasionally in the show are not just the fault of the crappy internet my ISP provides from its monopoly perch. Apparently, some of it is due to the microphone that I use, which is a good microphone, but not broadcast quality. So I, your host, have sprung for a brand new high-quality microphone that is supposed to be here on Wednesday. Hopefully it will clear up some of these issues. The primary problem, and I wish I was joking about this, the primary problem is that I, your host, have a voice that is too powerful and too versatile for the mic I'm using. And no, that is actually not a joke. I go from low volume to high volume, and I go from normal speak to a very vibrant tone. And that can cause problems with the sound, but a higher quality microphone will mitigate all those difficulties, making the show sound better for you. So that's what I've gone ahead and done. Order that mic. Hopefully it will be here for Wednesday's show, if not for Fridays. By the way, in case anyone from Amazon is listening, I have an Amazon Prime membership. I ordered that microphone through Amazon. I buy a lot of stuff on Prime, and it concerns me that Gawker is able to violate your ad program's terms freely and with impunity, and has for years. I do not want to stop being an Amazon customer, but unless you enforce your own stated terms, I'm afraid I'm going to. Just a little message from the House of Geekery. Moving on, a quick apology. I was skunked today. I don't know if King of Paul did the joke himself or if somebody else did it and he fell for it as well. Twitter uses a sans serif font, so capital L's and lowercase i's look exactly the same. I was fooled into thinking that someone had canceled their account who had not, and tweeted it as if it were true. That was my mistake. A big apology to everyone. I have left the tweets up so that you can see my mistake and you can see my apology for the mistake. I'm not going to try and hide it. Although I will confess, I cringe now every time I see someone retweeting or favoriting that. I want to go to them and say, I'm sorry, that was a mistake. That wasn't true. My post is still in the convo, but I doubt most people are going to read down to the bottom. However, I'm doing it on the show. It is the best I can do. The title of tonight's show is We Are Winning. I have that title for a very specific reason. And yes, it is because Gamergate is real. The scandal among journalists is real. And those of us involved in the consumer revolt currently occupying the Gamergate hashtag have done great work in pressuring advertisers and requesting that games journalism sites abide by a professional code of ethics. And because of the effort of all of you listening who sent emails or chats or whatever you did, we are winning. Obviously, at the very, very beginning of this, there were a few sites who made changes to their ethics policy, only one of which did so with, in my opinion, sincerity, and that would be the Escapist. People who say that our consumer revolt is not about ethics are lying, and I can prove it, I can prove it, I can prove it. Let me read you a quote real quick. It is from an anti. That is someone who is anti-gamer, anti-gaming, and anti-ethics. Unlike those of us who are pros, we are pro-gamer, we are pro-gaming, we are pro-ethics. This anti said this: I'm not sure how many ways I can explain that supporting a negative cause is still bad, even if you're nice about it. Here's something you should know about me. I believe that there are almost no such thing as a bad tactic, only bad targets. In other words, according to this specific individual, there is very little that is unethical if you happen to be doing bad things to the right person. I don't know what their limit on ethical behavior is, but if you're not specifically decrying harassment and doxing and death threats, which this individual, so far as I know, has not, then you are in effect endorsing them, which this individual apparently has done. Now, you ask, what does this have to do with a website that sincerely changed its ethics policies? And why does this have anything to do with whether or not pros are sincere about wanting to reform video game ethics in video game media? That quote is by Bob Chipman, otherwise known as the Movie Bob. He is one of the more vocal antis, along with Jim Sterling. Both of them together, vocal antis, work for The Escapist. The Escapist is a magazine that back at the beginning of this entire consumer revolt reformed their ethics policies, not just across the Escapist itself, but across all brands under Defy Media. Now, I happen to know, or at least have been peripherally aware and interacted with the owner of Defy Media, goes by the name of Archon, and he is a stand-up guy. In at least one situation that I'm personally aware of, he went above and beyond the Call of Duty and invested a lot of his own money into redeeming a mistake that was not his fault, that he was only peripherally involved in, and making good on a promise to a large number of consumers. This was the Dwimmermount situation. If you know anything about it, you know what I'm talking about. So when he says that his company and all of his brands are interested in pursuing ethics, I say, okay, I believe you. I am willing to trust you because you have earned that trust. And we have seen in the past few weeks that by and large, or past 2 months, that by and large, they have lived up to that. The one exception you might point out to is them posting interviews of a lot of developers and then yanking interviews of Daniel Vavra and Slade Valena because antis threw a fit. They threw a temper tantrum. So we have this site who reforms their ethics policies on one hand, and on the other hand, allows its employees to slag down, to dehumanize, to vilify pros, and pulls down 2 interviews that presented the pro side. Has this site been the target of boycotts or vilification or condemnation from pros. No, it is not. So you ask me why we are sincere about reforming ethics in games journalism. I can prove it to you by just saying The Escapist. They reformed. We let them alone, even in the face of employees insulting us, even in the face of having interviews yanked at the behest of antis. We are more interested in reforming games media, games journalism, than we are in policing that kind of picayune offenses. Yes, it may be irksome, but they are doing the right thing. That is proof of our good intentions, proof of what it is we truly wish out of this revolt. So, the Escapist modifies, and all of Defy Media modifies their policies 2 months ago, at the beginning of all of this. Other companies modified some ethics policies, but not significantly, and there is little evidence that they actually are sincere about pursuing them. And then, so why do I say we're winning? How can we possibly be winning if every single gaming media site in the universe isn't begging for forgiveness and firing every scumbag journalist? I can say we're winning despite that, because this is the long campaign. We've been working hard for 2 months. There is more work yet to come. I don't know how long it will be, but we are winning because we are achieving victories, not just advertisers pulling out of sites, which has reportedly, according to one of the head figures of Gawker Media, cost them tens of thousands and might cost them millions of dollars over the course of this revolt. They are willing to lose millions of dollars rather than implement simple, basic ethics policies. There's a reason for that. Let you know where they stand. But despite their intransigence, we are making headway, and not just among advertisers. We had an announcement over the weekend that IGN is going to be publishing a ethics policy. They're going to be reforming their coverage of video games and video games media. There is a story about it up on One Angry Gamer, written by the great William Usher. I will drop a link to that in the comments, and then you can check that out after the show. IGN happened this weekend, and it was a major, major victory, because IGN is one of the headline signature games media sites. And they decide to change their ethics policy. That is exactly what we want. That is exactly what we need. And we will be victorious because of things like this. Now, there's something else that happened. It's not just one thing. This is a Joystiq review of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare that I am looking at right now in my web browser. But we're going to skip the entire review all the way down to the bottom. I'll drop, again, a link to this in the comments, or in my publicity statement, whatever the thing is, down at the bottom. All the way down at the bottom, underneath the stars, they give it 4 stars, by the way. I wish to read you 2 short paragraphs. This review is primarily based on the retail Xbox One version of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare provided by Activision. The multiplayer portion of this review was conducted at a multi-day review event held by Activision at Cavallo Point Lodge in Sausalito, California. Joystiq paid for its own travel to the event daily in order to play multiplayer. Joystiq did not make use of the hotel rooms provided to other reviewers for lodging and to evaluate the single-player game. The review author completed the single-player campaign at home and tested multiplayer connectivity on regular servers. I'll give you a second to let that sink in. I want to hit the separate points that make this a beautiful statement of media ethics. One, they tell you they were provided a copy of the game, which we all could assume, but it's good to know. Two, there was a multi-day review event held by Activision. They even tell you where. Joystiq paid for its own travel to the event, and they did not use hotel rooms provided by Activision. In other words, they provided their own travel, room, and board. Now, that is par for the course for the vast majority of news organizations in the world. That is the minimum basic standards under the Society of Professional Journalists Code of Ethics. However, it is not par for the course. It is not the accepted practice among games media. So in that sense, Joystiq has gone above and beyond the Call of Duty, apologies for the pun, they have gone above and beyond the Call of Duty in both making sure that they exceed the current ethics standards of video games journalism, and they avoid, and they put it in the story so you know. The review author, they tell you when he completed the game and that he tested multiplayer on regular servers, not just the ones provided for them by the developer. And there you have it. Did Joystiq go out of their way to make a vast, huge, noisy public announcement? No. Did they say, yes, we agree with Pro, and we will do everything they say? No, they didn't do that either. And there are reasons for that. Nevertheless, assuming they continue this policy in the future, they have adopted, apparently, a strong ethics policy and are following it. And that is a victory for us. That is something that we can be proud of, that three media sites, the Escapist, IGN, and Joystiq, have all reformed their ethics policies since this consumer revolt began. That is a victory. Now, if you look at why they did it this way, any company that has even peripherally come out and made a public statement that could possibly, theoretically, maybe if you looked at it sideways and squinted, be negative on the antis or pro or neutral for the pros, has been attacked and vilified. I don't blame Joystiq for just implementing the policy and going with it transparently. That is the smartest course of action, to do the right thing and not trumpet it, because if they did the right thing and announced it, the antis would go nuts and they would rain down an unholy rain of fire on Joystiq. This way, they just do. They just do the right thing. This is the sort of event we should treasure. This is the sort of event we want to see, is other companies adopting these ethics policies. And that is why I say we're winning. But wait, there's more. These events are harbingers. That is, they indicate that more events like these are occurring. You can see this, for example, on mainstream photo sharing sites like Flickr. One company adopted password protection to where you have to have an account to see what's posted there. And then another company did, then all of a sudden, all of them did. To where just about every photo sharing site now require, and this has happened in the last like 6 months, they require you to have a login. The same thing happened for video delivered through Flash. YouTube adopted it, then another company adopted it, then all of a sudden it was the de facto standard across the industry. That's how these things work. One company does it, another company follows suit, and then all of a sudden everybody is doing it. And those first few companies are key, and they take a while. But we have reached the point where one company did it way back when, and now another company has done it, and another company after that. I hope and I predict that we are going to see many, many more people, many, many more companies, or loudly, probably quietly to avoid the antis, adopting ethics policies. And one by one, we will see everybody but the most intransigent begin doing the right thing. Is that a bold prediction? Yes, that is a bold prediction, especially now when we are deep in the grind and not much seems to be changing. But I am telling you, these companies are a public face of things that are changing behind the scenes, because this took time, this took debate, this took discussion within the companies. They made their decisions and then they implement it. Corporations always take a long time. It is absolutely astounding to believe that no other game site in the world is not having these kinds of discussions, especially when they see articles like Gawker publishes about losing tens of thousands or maybe millions of dollars in advertising. They have to be thinking, they have to be wondering, they have to be worrying, are we going to be next? These kinds of discussions are taking place. And because our position is the right one, it is the good one, both for the companies and for consumers and for developers, because this is happening at these companies and because we are presenting the good solution, the right solution, the moral solution, the decent solution, the honest solution, I predict more and more of these companies will begin to change their ethics policies de facto, if not announcing it loudly. Now, what that leaves us with is the Incorrigibles. The Incorrigibles are those companies who it is apparent from present or past behavior that they have no intention of altering their course. They have no intention of sincerely changing their ethics. They may issue a new policy, but a policy with holes in it and a policy that isn't actually used, it just sits there on the website and is ignored, isn't worth it. My own personal list of hardcore incorrigibles, I would put Gawker at the top. I would also put, again, this is just my opinion, They are absolutely hardcore in being utterly committed to a goal that is, for them, political. Vox Media, man, it looks like the stream got dropped. Let's see. Vox Media was founded on the principle of pushing a political agenda. That's Ezra Klein, the founder of The Journalist, so the founder of the predecessor to Games Journos Pro, was and is a political animal who pushes things for a political reason, and the only reason Polygon exists is to try and push their politics into gaming. And again, that's their own statements coming back to haunt them. That is their own goals, their own claims when they founded these sites. I'm not sure that is a company that will ever reform. So I think you can safely list Vox on the Incorrigibles list, along with Gawker. And I put Gama Sutra on there just because they have been absolutely defiant in the face of questions about their ethics policies. And so they do not seem to be interested in keeping readers, in keeping advertisers, even doing a minimal amount of reform. Once the other companies have fallen in line, those three at least, and there may be more, those are just the three that I've identified, those three at least would seem to be absolutely incorrigible, and we're going to have to press on with our consumer revolt to try and push reform at those companies, or if not, weaken them to the point where other decent, honest institutions can take over, can become bigger, can just get the traffic, get the fans, and grow. It's unfortunate that they are so obstinate in adopting the minimal, basic standards of ethics. It seems to be the case. I would like a world where comments, policies like Joystiq implemented were the norm, where they were assumed, where you would just go to a gaming website and see that is what they wanted to do, that is what they were doing. That's the goal we're pushing for, and we're achieving it. Joystiq is there. IGN seems to be there. The Escapist seems to be there. We are winning. I'm your host, Daddy Warpig. Apparently, the bad internet here at the House of Geekery caused the stream to be dropped for a couple of minutes. I'm not sure why. I will have my crack team of technical gophers jump right on that to see if they can fix whatever went wrong. This has been the Kick-Ass Geek Cast for Monday, November 3rd, 2014. You can read the House of Geekery online, our blog at daddywarpig.com, daddywarpig.com, or you can catch me on Twitter at daddy_warpig, at daddy_warpig. This show goes Monday through Friday, 7 to 7:30 p.m. Tune in, subscribe, click the upvote if you like it, and spread the joy to your friends via whatever social media you feel the urge to. I, your host, am signing off for tonight. I will be back.